orgasms are so much better and you can have more because you can feel more. And orgasms, a rhythmic contraction of the pelvic floor. So think of if you have a lot of elasticity, so it can lengthen and rebound appropriately, you're going to have stronger orgasms. Your partner's going to feel you better. And it just makes sex so much better. My posture and my confidence, everything just changed after babies for me. And I didn't want to just live with it. So many women just, oh, this is just the way it is. But I know so much about the body that while it's common, it's not normal. And there's so much you can do for your body if you have the right resources and tools, and your body loves healing and can heal itself often.
Yes, I am such a firm believer in that. I don't know if I've ever shared it on the podcast, but I was an assistant on the documentary Heal, which is all about the body's power to heal itself given the right environment. And so just hearing you say that, I'm like, yes, I can't wait to have this conversation, because I believe that too, when you focus on the body and give it everything that it needs, the resources, the tools, the exercise, the practices, it will show up for you.
I agree.
It's just that it sounds very much in your case, what I'm hearing is there was no protocol for aftercare. There wasn't a doctor or a surgeon who said, hey, these things might occur, or you might have, obstacles in these areas now that you've had a baby. So maybe give us a little bit of what life was like as you were figuring this out for yourself, because it sounds like you went on your own journey for it. And then you decided, well, I should be sharing this because women don't know.
Yeah. And so many women have issues and they're actually embarrassed to talk about it, right? Like they have incontinence. I've worked with bladder incontinence, fecal incontinence, prolapse. And I think women just don't want to share. I have so many women who reach out, oh my goodness, I've never told anyone, but I have bladder leakage. And to me, I like giggle inside because it's like, that's so common. It's totally normal. I had that happen. It's fine. There's something you can do about it. But we just live in this culture where everyone wants to look perfect and you don't want to talk about your problems. And I think so many pelvic floor things come from a society we live in that we talk about like sex and we sexualize everything. But then as women, we're taught to almost be embarrassed about our privates, right? Like it's like, ooh, don't talk about your vagina. Don't talk about pelvic floor. It's embarrassing. It's just for sex. It's just for men. That we're just not really comfortable talking. Like so many women are uncomfortable talking about their pelvic floor or issues when, to me, that's sad because that's what makes us a woman, right? That's part of just our sexuality and what makes us feminine. And so for me, it was didn't want to pee anymore. Like you don't need to wear a pad when you sneeze or you cough. And I wanted to be able to run after my kids and jump on the trampoline with them and not live on the sidelines. So I really started doing pelvic floor work on my own, and I still had not launched programs, and I was going through a really difficult relationship. I was still married and I worked a little bit, but part-time. And then when I got divorced, I was, oh my gosh, I have to start working a lot. And women just started finding me for pelvic floor. And people would say my friend in Ohio or my niece it was always somewhere else really could use you, because we don't have that standard of care here like they do in Europe. And no one's talking about pelvic floor like they should be. So then I got an opportunity to film for a TV show. And I thought, I don't want people just contacting me for one-on-one. I really want to, my mission is to empower women and inspire them that you can do this on your own, right? So many turn to surgery or lasers, and often those actually lead to other issues, and sometimes they're needed. But to me, that's a last resort. I would always like the more holistic way possible, not like a Band-Aid approach to a problem. So I started creating my online programs. I built my website. I filmed my programs. I wrote a book, and I just wanted to be able to have resources for women wherever they are in the world, and no matter what their budget, that they could do something about it and take control of their health. And while it fixes pelvic floor issues and diastasis for most women, the real thing I love about it is the kind of inner confidence and connection that it gives women. It just like brings that back. It makes it feel okay to talk about.
Wow. I love so much of what you said. And there's so many things that I want to dive into. But before we get into all of the things about pelvic floor and like what women can be doing and what your programs look like, I want to talk a little bit about what is pelvic floor. I think for some of my listeners, this might be the first time they've been like, okay, I kind of know where my pelvic floor is, but if you can break down for us a little bit where it is in the body, how somebody can easily maybe feel it for the first time or identify it, and what are its functions? So we're kind of talking about like what happens when things go wrong, but let's like talk about what it is first and how to feel into it.
So for women, we're going to talk about women specifically. If they didn't have a pelvic floor, all of our internal organs would just fall through our legs, right? It's like a hammock.
So it's literally a floor.
It is a floor. Okay. It holds in your bladder, uterus, like everything it's holding in. And so it connects at pubic bone to tailbone and sits bone to sits bone. And it's 3 layers and it's 16 muscles. And it's incredible. And it's not made to be tight or overstretched. It's made to be strong, toned, responsive, elastic. So think of, people think tight, like I want a tight pelvic floor. I just wrote an article about this, but tight leads to issues. Just like if you had a tight hamstring, that doesn't mean it's strong. That doesn't mean it's functioning well. Actually, tight is dysfunctional. But you want it strong, right? You want a lot of tone. It's a muscle. It's lots of muscles. What can happen is that sometimes all of it is overstretched. That's what they would say, like a loose pelvic floor, or all of it's really rigid and tight. So the tissue's tight and not elastic like it should be. And then it doesn't respond. But often what can happen too, it's a combination. So maybe if you think of like your hips, if you have like an anterior pelvic tilt where your butt kind of sticks out in the abs pooch, part of the pelvic floor is going to be lengthened to support that posture. And then part of it's going to be shortened to support that posture.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah. And then even when we breathe, like our diaphragm is connected. Like when people think our core, the pelvic floor is the base of that. And the diaphragm is the top of that core. And then the abs and the lumbar spine and everything connects. So it's all works together in our body. And when you have dysfunction in one, you're going to have it in the other, or it's going to lead to problems with the other. So it's not talked about because not only are a lot of women embarrassed, but you don't see it, right? Everyone's like, I want a good butt. I want great abs. No one's like, I want a beautiful toned pelvic floor.
Right.
But that's really the foundation your body's built on. And when you move, it's going to turn on exactly how much it needs to. When you breathe in, it ascends and descends in your body. So it lifts and lowers. If you think of a vaginal childbirth, think of how much it can stretch and then rebound back.
Yeah.
Right. And then when you jump, it lifts and lowers inside of you. And then when you do activities, it should, a well-functioning pelvic floor should turn on exactly what's needed at the right time. And then when you have sex, your pelvic floor is a huge part of that. If it's really tight and rigid, sex can be really, really painful and penetration, and that's not fun. And if it's really overstretched, you're not going to have a lot of tone and sensation. But when it's strong and functioning really well and you have a lot of nerve connections, orgasms are so much better and you can have more because you can feel more. And orgasms, a rhythmic contraction of the pelvic floor. So think of if you have a lot of elasticity, so it can lengthen and rebound appropriately, you're going to have stronger orgasms. Your partner's going to feel you better. And it just makes sex so much better. So a lot of people think they can't have internal orgasms. They just don't know how, and they might not be in tune with the pelvic floor, but most women are capable of having them. And lots of women can have multiple internal orgasms. They just don't know it.
Okay, ladies and gents, I think we got the attention of everyone listening. Pelvic floor strengthening, toning, and just focus in general, I think being in touch with it. Could you share a little bit about that? I think this is going to be
that was
great.
me actually before too. I didn't know I could.
Do tell.
And so I didn't know, like most women think they need clitoral stimulation. And there are some women who cannot have internal orgasms, but most women are capable of it. But that was me. I thought, oh, there's no way. But once I really started doing a lot of pelvic floor work, sometimes nerves are entrapped or they're just kind of disconnected and you're not feeling it, or you don't have the strength on there. There could be many, many reasons. But when you really get in touch with your pelvic floor, it's a sensation. It's not like if you're riding a bike up a hill and your quads are burning. It's not that kind of sensation. It's just a little different for everyone. But when you really get connected with it, and comfortable. I think when you have sex, you're just so much more relaxed and you're more confident because a lot of women, like, they're like, I don't want to be on top. And for most women, that's actually the best position to have an internal orgasm.
Is on top.
Women on top.
Okay.
But a lot of women feel insecure, like, oh, my boobs are droopy or am I fat? And they're going to think, I mean, honestly, if someone has you naked, they better just be so grateful you're naked with them, right? And if they're judging you like that, not the type of person you want to be naked with.
Exactly.
And so just be confident. They're probably so excited that you're there naked with them. And I think with the pelvic floor, I know it just connects you and gives you this other kind of confidence, and you have better sensation down there, and you're just going to be more open to having them, right? And allowing it to happen. Sometimes people hold themselves back, or they're worried about, they're all up in their head instead of enjoying the moment. And when your pelvic floor is strong and the nerve pathways are opened, I mean, so many women I know, some included, were like, I did not know I could have multiple internal orgasms. That's crazy.
Oh my gosh. I cannot wait.
And it could be like back to back to back. And you're like, I didn't even know this was possible, but this is unreal. But that's where like pelvic floor work helps so much. And if women and men only knew what it would do for a woman, you would be doing it all the time. I mean, it's just life-changing that way.